Shopify grows your business no matter how far or big you grow. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Whether you're selling your fans' next favorite shirt or an exclusive piece of podcast merch, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Allbirds, Rothy's, Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning help is there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow, grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in.
Hear that? Believe it or not, summer is just around the corner. Luckily, Armor All, America's most trusted auto appearance brand, has what your car needs to get that perfect summer shine. Plus, now through May 31st, we'll give you $5 for every $20 you spend on Armor All products. That means car wash pods, protectant, tire shine, you name it. Find out how to get your $5 rebate at armorall.com. Armor All, less work, more clean. Terms apply.
This content may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion advised.
To this day, I don't know if that man was after me, the baby, or the car. Whatever it was, I can only hope he never got the opportunity to hurt anyone.
As we discussed, what the fuck did we just experience? The logical side of my brain said, it's a feral animal, don't get out of the car. But the emotional side of my brain said, a demon did this.
From Killer Podcasts, true tales of horror, bizarre happenings, unexplainable events. This is Disturbed. Hello, and welcome back to the show. This week, we're bringing you 4 stories that will drive you mad. Truck stops from hell, road rage, evil from behind the wheel. So sit back, listen closely, and dive into the horror. First, a story narrated by Catarina Restivo from Reddit user Cake Crumbs. A rest stop so bad it errs on the side of evil.
I worked in the truck stop industry for about 15 years. All of the following stories took place at the same location. I worked there for a little over a year. I have other stories from other locations, but this one had the most frequent occurrences of weird stuff. I was given the opportunity to help open this brand new location, and since it came with a fat raise and a promotion, I happily accepted. It's now been about 5 years since that location opened. Out of over 60 employees we hired for opening day, I don't think a single one of them still works there. On opening day, shortly after the ribbon-cutting ceremony, a woman delivering flowers dropped the flowers on her sandaled foot and sliced her foot open, bleeding all over the entrance. Little did we know, the bloodied threshold was an omen of the cursed occurrences that would follow. Within a week of being open, we had water and sewage coming through all of the drains, both indoors and outdoors. It hadn't been raining. There hadn't been a flood or any other unusual weather. We have no idea what caused this to suddenly happen, and just as quickly as it happened, it went away. The plumbers were baffled. A couple of months after we opened, we faced a severe storm that destroyed the high-rise interstate sign and caused a 7-hour power outage. I had sent several people home, but kept a couple of employees, just in case the power came back. As we sat in the restaurant dining room, chatting under our emergency electric lantern, an employee who lived in the town all her life mentioned that people were a little worried when the construction of this place was announced. This property was rumored to be a Native American burial ground. I had no way to prove or disprove the accuracy of this, but as time went on and the ensuing events became more serious, I started to wonder if the rumors were true. 6 months after opening was the first death. A truck driver came in to take a shower in one of the shower rooms, and we had sensors on the doors that let us know how long someone had been in there. If the timer had been going for a couple of hours, we would knock on the door to see if maybe they had left so we could clean it for the next driver. The employee knocked on the door of the shower that had been in use for a couple of hours, and there was no answer. She used the key to open the door, and the driver was on the floor. He had died of a stroke. He had been driving a semi-truck 30 minutes before he entered that room. I can't imagine what would have happened if he had still been on the road when he died. The employee who found his corpse was significantly traumatized. The company did a great job of offering support for her, but she didn't last much longer after that. A few weeks later was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. I was working on the restaurant side of the truck stop. The restaurant manager had quit after a series of bad things that had happened to her, and they asked me to move into her role temporarily. The assistant manager on the store side came over because the freakiest thing had just happened. She pulled me into the store side office and pulled up the cameras to show me what had happened. A small 4-door sedan pulled into the lot, but didn't pull into the gas station side. It pulled into the truck stop side, where the semi-trucks pull in. He parked next to the maintenance shed, which was located adjacent to the main building and very close to a large trash compactor. He got out of the vehicle, opened one of the doors, and pulled out a trash bag. He threw the trash bag on top of the compactor. Then he got in his car and left the property. We fast-forwarded the footage to about an hour or two later, when the man returned. He pulled back in next to the compactor. He got out, climbed on top of the compactor, and chucked the bag onto the roof of the maintenance shed. He then climbed back down, got into his car, and left, never to return. This is when he was noticed by an employee who had been outside gathering trash to take to the compactor. The maintenance shed is a small building about 20 by 20 feet. If the employee had not seen him throw it up there, it may never have been noticed, as the building was the height of a 1-story building. Once the employee saw this individual leave, he went into the shed, got a ladder, and went to get the bag from the roof. He brought the bag inside the store to show the assistant manager. Inside was a ton of paper. These documents listed hundreds, if not thousands, of addresses across the United States. Under each address was a specific hidden location on each property where a body could be found. No information on who the individuals were, just the sex and location of the individuals on these properties. The location spanned from coast to coast, but I didn't get a chance to examine them too closely. I was really freaked out, and I thought that touching them would maybe contaminate something. So we just put what we had pulled out back into the bag and called the police. Now, the thing about truck stops is that they are often in remote locations along interstates. The town this truck stop is located in has 3 police officers total. It is a town with less than 1,000 people. So when I say the chief of police showed up, it's because he was the highest-ranking officer of the 3 in the town. He hated us, as truck stops bring crime, and suddenly he had a lot more work to do. He came in, watched the footage, and looked in the bag. He was not concerned in the slightest, which frustrated me to no end. He asked what we wanted him to do about it, and said it was probably a prank. His reaction made no sense. He took the bag of papers with him, filled out a request form for the footage, and left. My hope is that he at least forwarded this to the FBI. Just a couple of weeks after this, the body of a bound, nude, and recently deceased man was found across the street at a dump. Because it was a dump, they had no idea where the individual had originated from. Sometime in the following weeks was the second death on the truck stop property. It was a driver who had died in his truck. Somewhere in the middle of all this, we had another severe storm and the interstate high-rise was destroyed again. Then we had another weird incident involving abandoned things. A driver came in to show us that someone had left ratchet straps and small children's clothing folded up neatly next to a diesel pump. The combination of the items was alarming to me, so I got on the camera system and called the police. I was able to find the truck that left the items, and luckily this time, I got the one amazing police officer in the town. She actually did her job and followed up with me to let me know that she had found the driver and called him. He had just been cleaning out his truck and found some of his kids' old clothes, as well as some straps he didn't need. He thought maybe someone else could use the items and didn't think about the combination of the two, raising eyebrows. He was actually really grateful that somebody was worried and followed up on it. At least this incident had a resolution. A couple of months after the first year mark, the State Department of Transportation had to shut down the ramp to the interstate exit. It had started to collapse, and they were worried that the overpass would collapse as well. We had almost no business for weeks as construction crews rebuilt the ramps and repaired the overpass. It was during this time that I earned a promotion to general manager and was moved to a different location. I kept in touch for a while, especially with my former boss and the assistant manager. The incidences continued. A couple of months after I left, there were 2 major incidents. One was a customer who attacked a teenage cashier because he didn't get the customer's lotto ticket correct. The maintenance guy came to the kid's defense, and the customer got into a brawl with him. The second involved an aggressive individual who entered the building with a machete, terrifying the employees. I wish I could still access the security footage of the state troopers coming in with AKs and drop-kicking the guy. I have no idea where this person came from as he walked, and this location was 10 to 15 miles from the nearest town. Slowly, over time, I lost touch with my former coworkers, and they both left the location, so I stopped getting the stories. Was this infernal truck stop haunted? A portal to hell? I don't know. But what I do know is, I now avoid truck stops like the plague.
Our next story is told by the talented Gregory James. 4 teens take the spirits out to drive, but don't know how to work the brakes.
I was raised by a Mexican mother who is very superstitious and an American dad who is incredibly logical and agnostic. I've always been a balance of logical yet open-minded. Growing up, my mom always told me, do not play with Ouija boards. They invite demons and bad spirits into your life. She did everything she could to warn me about demons. Her being a practitioner of Santeria, and my abuelita being a curandera, a healer and negative energy cleanser. I was warned about bad things my whole life, but never felt certain they existed. Anyways, this was about 12 years ago when I was 16. It was about 10 p.m., and I was hanging out with 3 of my friends, Blake, Jasmine, and Ian. My friend Ian just got a brand new car off the lot, maybe 20 miles on that baby. He literally drove it right off the lot to show it to all of us. I'm not quite sure how, but our conversation turned to ghosts, and Jasmine said, "I have a Ouija board, let's use it." So we got her board and started trying to use it right there in the road, under the street lamps of a suburban housing division of Oklahoma City. Of course, nothing happened, so we chalked it up to bullshit and decided, hey, let's take this car for a drive around the back roads on the outskirts of the city. And we did just that. I was in the front seat, just focusing on the road, while Blake and Jasmine were sitting in the back talking about something stupid. We were driving along these back roads in a remote, wooded area. The back roads were still paved. We had not been on any gravel roads. All of a sudden, we heard a loud pop, and then the car started making weird noises. We pulled over immediately. Ian got his little keychain flashlight out, and on the passenger side, the tire was flat. As we inspected it, we saw the cause was something that looked like 3 claw slashes right on the side. My friend Ian and I discussed how we didn't see a single thing in the road that could have caused this. When I say the road was bare, I mean there wasn't a damn thing on the road at all. Not even a branch that could have caused something like that. Ian had his high beams on, so we could see everything clearly. Ian was pissed that he had to change his tire, especially because it was a brand new car. As he was about to open the trunk, we heard another pop, and Ian started screaming, "Ow!" at the same time. I ran around to his side and asked him what just happened. He pulled up his pant leg, and there were large scratches on his ankle and calf area. The driver rear tire had the exact same scratch marks as the front passenger tire. The claw marks on his skin were pretty deep and drew blood. We were all terrified at this point. Blake immediately ran into the car and closed the door. We all followed suit, and Ian locked the doors. As we discussed, what the fuck did we just experience? The logical side of my brain said, it's a feral animal, don't get out of the car. But the emotional side of my brain said, a demon did this. We called AAA and got his brand new car towed. When I got home, I immediately told my mom what happened because I knew if it was something bad, she'd help me fix it. She took me to her mother's house where I was spiritually cleansed and we said a couple of Roman Catholic prayers. But after that night, I dealt with nightmares and sleep paralysis for years. Wonder what it was.
You're listening to Disturbed. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Ready to level up your career? Text DISH to 44043 now to dive into a world of exciting technician opportunities at DISH. From cutting-edge technology to a supportive work environment, DISH offers the perfect platform for your success. Connect with us today to discover how you can be part of a dynamic team driving innovation. Connect today and join the DISH family, where innovation meets opportunity. Text DISH to 44043 to kickstart your journey towards a rewarding career.
Welcome back to the podcast. Imagine the horror when you're alone in your car and someone you don't know is trying to get in. Narrated by Meghan Barylak.
I was a 19-year-old new mom when this story takes place. My then husband, now ex, came home from work with my 17-year-old brother in tow sometime after 1 a.m. They wanted to go out and get something to eat, and as I had barely left the house in months, I jumped at the opportunity. I grabbed the baby and put him in his car seat in the rear passenger seat. I called shotgun, my husband drove, and my brother crawled in the back with the baby. We lived in a small town, so nothing was open this late within the town limits. Our only option was to go a few miles out of town to the Hardee's at a nearby truck stop. Now, the building itself was pretty small, but the lot was huge. There were quite a few 18-wheelers lined up on the far side of the lot, and a few cars parked in front of the building. There were some street lamps in the lot, but they were few and far between, so the lot was mostly dark. We parked in one of the dark spots at the side of the building closest to the Hardee's entrance. The baby had fallen asleep by then, so I told my brother and hubby to go on in and order for me. They did, and I immediately locked the doors, just as my mother had drilled into me to do since I was little. I am so thankful now that she did. My husband and brother had been gone for about 5 minutes, and I was just staring straight ahead and listening to music when I caught movement out of the corner of my eye. I turned my head and saw a man walking in my direction. He was probably mid-30s with a mop of curly brown hair poking out from underneath a red baseball cap. I figured he was going towards the entrance to the restaurant and went back to spacing out. A couple minutes passed and I heard a door handle jiggle. I whipped my head around and saw the man pulling at the car door behind me. My baby's door. He gave up and took the 2 steps to my door. I quickly doubled and triple-checked that all the doors were locked. They were. He tried my door and failed, then walked to the other side of the car and tried those doors too. I was freaking out and frozen in fear. This was the age of the flip phone, so not everyone had a cell phone at this time, and I definitely didn't have one. He circled the car 2 more times, checking each handle as he went. I was watching him this whole time in the mirrors, and he didn't look directly at me once. I placed my hand on the horn, ready to lay into it if he pulled a weapon or tried anything else. I tried to get a look into the store through the partially obscured windows, but I couldn't see my brother or husband. Then I looked in my rearview mirror to see the creeper's whereabouts, but he was gone. I turned around in my seat and still couldn't see him. He must have given up and left. I breathed a sigh of relief, but stayed vigilant. Finally, my brother and hubby exited the restaurant, food in hand. I cannot explain the relief that washed over me just then. I unlocked the doors for them and they got in. My brother asked, "What was that guy doing crouched behind the car?" My pulse quickened. Seriously? He's still there? My brother pointed to one of the cars in front of the building and said, "No, when we walked to the car, he jumped up and ran to that car over there. He's lying flat in the back seat." To this day, I don't know if that man was after me, the baby, or the car. Whatever it was, he was up to no good, and I can only hope he never got the opportunity to hurt anyone.
Our final story is narrated by Catarina Sveta from r/Creepy Encounters. Alone on a desolate stretch of road in the middle of the night. The perfect place for an ambush.
This happened ages ago when I was 21. I was a manager for a big box store in a town that was an hour commute from me. I lived in a small town and the store was in another small town, each about 12,000 people. And in order to be promoted to manager, I had to transfer, which meant doing this drive daily. I had hoped it would be temporary because I dreaded this drive, especially late at night because of deer. This was also before cell phones were the norm. I did have one, but it was one of those ancient bag-style phones, and I'd just gotten it a week or two before. With these phones, you had to plug them into your car lighter, and they had a corded-attached handset. Anyway, one night I was driving home, and it was really late, about 1 a.m. The drive was pretty desolate, with houses sporadically throughout, mixed with sections of wooded areas. About 20 minutes before my town was a random casino in the middle of bumfuck Egypt. I had just passed this casino, and a truck pulled out behind me. I didn't think anything of it, but I quickly noticed that they'd been drinking because of their erratic driving. I figured I should just put as much room between us as possible. I realized that they could easily see in their headlights that I was a young girl by myself. The truck came up behind me at a fast rate and started to pass me. As they were next to me, they swerved a little towards me, and I just thought that they must have been much more drunk than I had realized. I slowed down so they could easily pass me, but as soon as they got in front of me, they started to slow down, way down. It got to the point that we were going 20 miles per hour in a 55-mile-per-hour zone. They still kept slowing down, like they were trying to stop me. Each time they got to around 5 miles per hour, I would swerve to the opposite lane and give it some gas, like I was going to pass, which would then make them temporarily speed up. I could see a lot better into the truck at this point. It was an extended cab truck with 5 or 6 guys in it. This was hunting season, so it wasn't out of the norm to see groups of guys acting ridiculous and drunk this time of year. They were trying to stop me, and I didn't want to necessarily pass given what had just happened, but at a certain point, I had to. So I tried to pass the truck, but it blocked me from doing so by getting in the middle of both lanes. I tried this a couple times with the same results. Finally, I floored it, desperately trying to pass this truck, but it tried to run me off the road. I immediately got back behind them and was freaking out at this point. I tried calling 911, but there was no service in the area. After what seemed like forever, I finally got through to them and they sent someone out immediately. As I was on the phone with them, I saw car lights in my rearview mirror. I was filled with dismay because I knew this car would inevitably try to pass, given we were only going about 30. Sure as shit, the car came up behind us, and as it tried to pass, the truck ran them off the road and into a ditch. As I was telling the 911 dispatcher this, I was in a full-blown panic. We were getting close to town by then, and I could see the first stoplight. I wasn't sure what the truck was going to do because our one lane split into 2, and there were gas stations up ahead. Right as we approached the first light, I saw an officer coming in the opposite direction, and I started flashing them over and over while telling the dispatcher that I saw the officer. The officer made a U-turn and got in between me and the truck. He flicked the lights on them to pull them over, and they pulled into a gas station at the main intersection of our town. I followed into the gas station to assist the police in whatever statements they might need. I wanted to make sure these assholes were actually arrested. That didn't end up being a problem because they refused a breathalyzer. So they were taken to the hospital where a blood alcohol level was obtained. I really wanted to know more, but the officer didn't elaborate. I kind of wish I would have called up and followed up on it. They never called me or anything to do anything in court, so I'm guessing they didn't need me. But it also means that they got away with only getting a DUI. I didn't realize this wasn't okay until way later, much too late to have done anything about it. All I know is the officer said they were all 3 sheets to the wind. God only knows what their intent was, but I was terrified to find out. And thank God for that damn bag cell phone. It may have saved my life.
Want more Disturbed? Check out our Patreon for member-exclusive content, early merch access, and other cool perks. I'm your host, Doug Bailey, and this has been Disturbed, a production of Killer Podcasts and part of the Evergreen Network. For more paranormal and true crime shows, visit killerpodcasts.com. Follow our social channels at Disturbed Podcast on Instagram or Disturbed_pod on Twitter. If you enjoyed the show, please consider subscribing and reviewing on your favorite listening platform. Share your own true horror story at disturbedpodcast.com. Music by Epidemic Sound and by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. Our producers are Noah Fouts and Elizabeth Flood. Our audio engineer is Nathan Corson. Executive producers Bridget Coyne and Gerardo Orlando. Until next time, stay safe out there.
America. We are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. At Grand Canyon University, we believe in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. To serve others in ways that promote human flourishing and create a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.